this the different not at length, I'll be honest, but we touch briefly on some of the different approaches, I think, in the next module or the one after. I can't remember where it is, but I'm really happy to answer it in brief.
Okay, sure.
What's different between this approach and CBT would be everything.
Okay.
Everything is
Okay.
different. It's they are opposing approaches in many ways. In CBT, in the simplest of terms, we're operating on the basis that, in the simplest of terms, yes, I'm not saying this gives full credit to the approach, but if we change the way we think, then we can change the way we feel, right? And we can change behavior.
Yeah, sure.
A trauma-informed, somatically oriented, and polyvagal informed approach says absolutely the opposite, is that actually, until the nervous system is regulated, and so if there are symptoms, if there are issues that someone is having trouble commanding or changing, then by definition, they are in dysregulation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they were regulated, then they would have higher brain function and be able to just change that behavior. So if someone is struggling with something that would cause them to seek out therapy, by definition, not only are there psychological roots that need investigation, but they are dysregulated. In the simplest of terms, their nervous system is dysregulated. If the nervous system is dysregulated, you literally biologically and physiologically cannot change how you feel or the behavior that is at play by how you think, because you don't have your higher brain function. You don't have
Mm.
access to it at a high
Mm.
enough level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why, don't get me wrong, there are occasions where basic CBT protocols can, in my experience, I don't know, they help people feel like they have a tool, and begin to interact with some of their material and explore it and feel empowered. And on occasion, it has effects, but for the most part, my experience with people is that there's a frustration with CBT that gets turned inward on themselves, like there's something wrong with them, that it isn't working properly. And it's just because the regulation isn't in place yet, isn't supported. CBT works on the basis that we don't need to dig into the deepest psychology to be able to change the behavior. And I think that that can be true in late stage therapy, where
Mm.
we have better context for where we come from, and when true ability to regulate is in place. But in early doors therapy, I think that my experience is it can just be a really frustrating and demoralizing process for people.
Mhm.
Because the
Mm.
regulation isn't there, there's a
Yeah.
reason that we can't apply the CBT principle. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. It totally does. Yeah. It's kind of superficial. It's not going into the deeper
Yeah,
place.
I mean,
Yeah.
the accurate way of me phrasing this is that CBT is what we call a
Mm.
top-down
Yeah.
modality.
Yeah.
Work from here and assume it will affect here.
Mm.
We're learning to work in reverse. We're working on the assumption that we have to go in from the bottom up, that to change the way that we're thinking, we have to
Mm.
change the way that the body is biologically functioning and
Mm.
address how we're feeling. So,
Mm.
so in many ways, they're quite opposed. I think at a higher level, further down a therapeutic path, they can begin to blend, but with right underpinning. I think
Yeah.
with a polyvagal foundation, CBT can take on
Yeah.
a very, very different tone. Yeah, can be quite effective, but
Mm.
without it, I don't know. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
does that help? Does that make any sense?
It does, and I think I just needed to hear it, you say it and explain, like, there's an I mean, this is why I found this course and went against the other courses that I was looking at. So it kind of, and you sometimes just need to hear it explained,
Yeah.
and then it just also affirms my intuition.